let's have a problem solving approach to any problem that arises, and maybe we don't have the answers today. That's absolutely fine. Park those questions, keep working on them at the back of your mind, but at least do what you can. That's very important.
Hello everyone, this is Shweta Dalani and welcome back to another episode of the Climbapreneur Show. Another episode that will inspire you, empower you and motivate you to create climate solutions. And today's episode is sponsored by Super Bottoms.
Some diapers have harmful chemicals, and using a langot only can be very messy. But Super Bottoms Uno is the new and perfect way of diapering your baby. Here's why. Super Bottoms Uno is all cloth and has no harmful chemicals. Organic cotton pads that stay dry overnight, and it's washable and reusable too. So go bottoms up with Super Bottoms Uno, the perfect diaper for your baby's bum.
Welcome to the Climbapreneur Show, Nitin. I'm quite excited today to be listening your story of creating cacao trade because you have done something that is unconventional, took a path that wasn't followed by many, created the world's first zero waste single origin bean to bar chocolate that is organic, that is plant friendly, that is and you're India's first, I would say, certified chocolate taster. So I'm sure your journey, it's a huge journey behind it. So welcome to the show, Nitin.
Thanks, Shweta, and thanks for the time.
So Nitin, I'm actually gonna start with how do you feel today when you actually look back from where you started to where you have reached? What is your I would say, what is your feeling like now?
I think, coincidentally in the last 6 to 8 months, and especially maybe during the pandemic, we've somehow started getting a bit more recognition for the work that we've been doing. I mean, we've been doing this for, it seems like a very long time now, but we started in 2019, early 2019. And during those stages, I think people didn't recognize enough the need for saving the planet in whatever you may be doing. You may be in the chocolate business, you may be in, I don't know, aluminum or steel business. Whatever you're doing, there was no need or no thought about how do we do things better to save the planet. But when we decided that we want to bring out a brand of chocolate, for us it was absolutely clear that if you wouldn't be planet friendly, I think you're just fooling yourself, because in a few years' time, everybody would be talking about it. And things don't happen overnight, right? So we had to invest our time. So we started our work in 2018. And by the time we got our product ready, the first introduction to this product happened in Amsterdam in a show called Chocoa, which is a fine chocolate show. And in that 1 year, we realized that, we're doing the right thing. Whether it is successful as a venture or not is another aspect altogether. But at that time, that didn't bother us. We were, with all our good intentions, we were there to ensure that we look at every aspect of how to make a good planet-friendly chocolate. And I think when your intentions are all right, I think, stars fall align, right? So it just happened so to us. And answering your question, it feels fantastic today that we get some recognition in the zero waste community, in the sustainable community, in the vegan community, in the organic community. All of them have somehow, shown their support to us, which to me is a dream come true. So when dreams happen in reality, I think it just kind of takes you to a different high, right? And both me and my wife, Poonam, she hasn't joined me today, but both me and my wife are absolutely over the moon, as of now, because people seem to recognize and appreciate what we're doing. And sometimes, it has to be paying off, right? Because only if I'm profitable am I able to continue or sustain this business. Right. So we are happy that people are valuing or correctly rewarding us for the value we put to our product. And I think we are over the moon as of now.
Like it's actually pretty amazing the kind of feeling you get, like, like people actually loving your product. And I think I mentioned this to you earlier also. I really love the way, you have actually put the detailing into every small aspect of it. Even, the wrapper of the chocolate, right? You have made it into mandala arts and all these things. So I could actually see the thought, like every little thing that you have put such an amazing thought. When did you actually decide, Nitin, that you want to like do something into the chocolate industry? Like, how did it came to your mind?
So we actually run a chocolate school in Chennai, and from 2015, me and my wife have been taking part in a fine chocolate exhibition where we have our stall, where we demonstrate to people that people can learn how to make chocolate in India. So in 2000, I mean, we do it every year from 2015, but in 2017 and 18, we started hearing a lot from people about, how do you teach people how to make sustainable chocolate? So initially we found it little, to be honest, little off topic because we never thought about it that way. And I'm talking 2017. But when the voice amplified in 2018, when people kept asking us more over and over again, we thought, listen, we must do something out of it, right? But that was not the only trigger. I think somewhere in the next few months, there was also a deep sea diver who actually went as far as she could inside the ocean, and she actually came out with a plastic wrapper. So I mean that somehow I think that day we were either very emotional or very concerned or whatever that state of mind was. We got very annoyed with that specific event, and we decided there has to be, if there is a time we need to do something, it has to be now, right? And we will ensure that we set up the chocolate brand in a way that we start working on it now. And in a year's time, we decided, and we in 2019 came up with our brand, which is Cocoa Trade at Chocoa in 2019.
When you started, like, did people actually tell you ki, because I understand what you're doing is something unconventional and it's not a path that we like most of the people follow. So did people come and tell you ki, "Arey, kya hi kar rahe ho? What is this idea all about? Like, and why are you even doing it?" So did that all happen to you? And now, like, when your chocolates like are like amazing, like they taste amazing. So now do they tell you, "Nahi, acha kiya, like you did that." So did that phase happen for you?
Oh my God, this is a great question, and you've kind of, I'll take a minute, or probably a little bit more than a minute to answer this. So, as what has happened to me in my life, everything what I've taken the career decisions I've taken have always been the path less traveled. Okay, so in 2003, I went to the UK to do a MS in retail business management. Now,
That was
in
2003.
2003.
Okay.
And I almost have had every friend of mine mocking me, saying, listen, everyone's looking at an MBA in IT and you're looking at an MS in retail management. I think it's quite foolish what you're doing. But but and even on my farewell party where I had people coming over to my house, I invited them, and I think their parting note on that night was, are you sure what you're doing? Because it sounds very funny. So it didn't matter, because I think somewhere that also initiates a little bit more fire in you, saying, "Yeah, मैं करके बताऊंगा," kind of thing, So we did that, and because of that course, when I came back, I got hired for a project which exposed me to chocolate, and in many ways is kind of responsible for the place I am in today. So of course I don't regret it, and the retail opportunity in India had just begun, and I always believe that you have to be ahead of the pack, because that's just a strategy, right? For any product, you either price yourself low to penetrate, or you be before everybody else. So for me, somehow that worked. I was before everybody else, and I think it took me very well. It helped me a lot in my career, being before a lot of people in the retail business space. Similarly, when we started working on chocolate and cacao, when I did my chocolate taster certification, this was 2014, and again I had a lot of people, both friends and family, actually, extended family, kind of laughing and mocking over it, saying, "Yeah, what's happening here? They don't seem to understand what's going on." So in a way, I think we were quite thick-skinned, or at least I became quite thick-skinned by then, because if you bother about criticism, it's not going to help you because it's not positive. And when we started this chocolate brand, I remember very clearly there is a couple of retailers in Chennai and even otherwise. They kind of dissuaded me. They said, listen, you're venturing out on a commercial venture, and you shouldn't be bringing environment and planet and inclusivity, in your business, because that will end up becoming a social cause, and you're never going to be making money out of it. But again, it was a very narrow point of view. Looking back, I think they were very narrow-minded in what they were thinking. Maybe not their fault, because their level of exposure perhaps is only that much. But again, all these three instances that I told you kind of enables or triggers, or fuels your aspiration to do more. So yes, people have been laughing all the way, and hopefully at some stage I will look back and say that, thanks for laughing at me, because that helps.
Like it's like very well said that you can only connect dots when you look back. So, and like, Nitin, like you mentioned, it's okay that people were saying all those things to me, but was it easy for you on a personal level? Like, a lot of times, like I ask this question very frequently on the podcast, that because when a lot of things are happening around you, somewhere or the other, it definitely takes up your mental space. But I feel that it is during those times when you work, because ultimately tomorrow, these days are actually gonna give you the results. So how did you kept yourself focused to your work, and did all these things bother you at some point of time?
No, I must be very honest. If I was a person where I would have got bothered by this kind of mocking or criticism, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't be doing my bit in saving the planet. So, I think this is probably a message for everybody, saying if you have decided your path, just close your ears to what people have to say, or at least filter what people have to say, or maybe surround yourself with the right company, because in your extended family, in your friends, you'll have enough people who are there only to push you down, not to see you grow. Because jealousy is a very human sentiment or a human emotion, and maybe it's not their fault, that's their exposure to life. So a lot of people feel very jealous, but if you are dedicated to your cause and if you have your mind firmly focused, I think you should just filter out whatever anybody has to say, because if you listen to that, you're not going to be moving in the same pace which you need to be moving at. And that will, not help you. So I think you just have to have a filter in your ear.
Tweet. I think that will be the quote, and that would like go on with the podcast banner. I'll ask you here that do you believe that one thing like in your journey, like everything happens for a reason, and one thing actually leads to another. So like, do you believe in this concept? And to add to that, I'll also ask you that what do you feel like, is it important to be present in the moment? Because a lot of times what happens is, it happens with me, like I have to be honest, that good things are happening to me, people are praising, but somehow you're just focused on, okay, what next? What next?
Yeah.
So how important is to be present in the moment?
So I mean, you have to recognize what's happening now, but this is like every other business, right? You have to have a plan B, a plan C ready, and that means that you should have thought enough about the future, because we can't just simply be making chocolate for the next 25 years, right? We have to progress with it. I wouldn't say move on, that's the wrong term, but you have to progress. Today you are offering chocolate as your contribution to saving the planet. Tomorrow there will be something else. And as a brand, the way we are trying to build it is, we don't want to be only a chocolate brand. We want to be a brand that you can indulge with, and anything you do with our brand, it becomes your contribution to saving the planet. So yes, but sometimes it is also difficult to see so far in the future and decide what you will do today. But clearly, your options, have to be clearly kind of at least listed down, if not decided. So yes, you have to live in the moment. You have to enjoy it, because we started work in 2017 or 18 in our minds, and today we are 4 years later having an opportunity to do this interview and get our chocolates to people across the country. So it has taken time, but you have to enjoy it. You have to live in the present as well, but also make sure that you have enough planned for the future, which can be very stressful. But I think you can't stop here. At least for me, I keep telling myself, I cannot stop here because we've just started and this has to go forward. When stars align, we're getting good vibes now and there is a push. There's somehow a invisible push that we feel. And the momentum has to continue, for which we have to keep looking ahead and look beyond the obvious.
The universe has your back.
Yeah, I agree. Now I agree.
No, yeah, because I definitely feel that, your why is beautiful, the kind of efforts one person puts in. And I could clearly actually see that the kind of efforts you are putting in. Like, I will straight away take you from here to your chocolate process. Because I've actually seen your videos and I would also recommend the listeners or the viewers to definitely go out, see the YouTube videos of how you've actually, you source the pulp and then the entire process. So like when you actually that thought came to your mind that okay, I want to integrate, I would say, sustainability into chocolates, did you already know the entire process, or was it and also was it overwhelming for you at that point of time because अच्छा हर चीज को sustainable कैसे बनाए, and am I doing anything wrong in this process? So what was that moment or time like?
Right, so I'll answer your second question first. So no, it was not overwhelming because we were absolutely clear in our mind what we want to do and our final goal was very clear.
Right.
I think like every other business, I think your final goal, if it's in your mind clear, then questions get answered quite easily, in my opinion. So no, we were not overwhelmed because we were taking it one step at a time. We didn't say we want to do everything overnight because that would have been quite foolish. So we said, let's have a problem solving approach to any problem that arises, and maybe we don't have the answers today. That's absolutely fine. Park those questions, keep working on them at the back of your mind, but at least do what you can. That's very important because if you see progress in what you do, you are motivated further. And again, I think somewhere the stars align because you're making an effort, right? So we did not get overwhelmed because we took one step at a time. I think that was very useful for us and very critical. Now, coming to your first question, your earlier question as to where it started, I think it started at the farm, a cocoa farm for us, because the cocoa farm actually is a very sustainable ecosystem. So, like every other tree, where cacao grows, the leaves fall back into the soil, and when we snatch away the beans from the pod, the fruit outer again goes back into the soil. So it kind of regenerates by itself, and a good cocoa farm, if it's well managed, doesn't have to have any additional input other than water. So that way our opportunity was and our thought was, if this can happen at the farm, why cannot we replicate it in the chocolate so that the customer can experience the same level of circular economy or the same level of sustainability and recyclability in the final product. And fortunately for us, it worked. Fortunately, we were able to put things in perspective and take it forward all the way to chocolate. But you must remember that between the farm and the chocolate, there is also a production process, right? So we've done a lot, even in our production process at our production center, to be called sustainable. So fortunately for us, though while cacao requires a lot of water at the farm, it requires no water absolutely during manufacturing. So that's one thing we're very happy about, because at the farm level, cacao needs a lot of water, and we feel it's natural resources that is, kind of being used. So to compensate that, the production of chocolate making requires no water. So we're very thrilled and excited about it. And also we use absolutely energy saving equipment, a lot of energy saving equipment, so that we use lesser energy. We want to be solar powered or renewable energy powered, but we've not got there yet. And I'm happy that we've not got there yet, because that's one thing we want to achieve, right? So we're working towards it every day. Suddenly, I think if you've achieved everything, you might feel complacent. So that's we're okay. But we do not specifically, for instance, we don't use gas for our roasting. If you use gas, that is a non-renewable resource, and then we are guilty of taking something away from the planet. But when we use electricity, yes, I agree that maybe everything is not generated out of renewable energy, but at some point there is an opportunity for us to switch to solar overnight, and we'll be 100% sustainable even with the electricity that is being consumed. So because I think we took one step at a time, we were able to go this far. That's my long and short of the answer.
This is amazing, like, and I can actually feel your passion for what you are doing right now. I have this one question, like, you say that it's a single origin, like the chocolate. So, what do you mean by like single origin?
Right. So single origin in chocolate terminology, and in India we actually at a stage where we're defining this. Okay, but if you look at globally, single origin means that all the cocoa beans that have been used and the cocoa butter that goes into the chocolate should all be from the same country.
Okay.
Now, in wine, it's slightly different. It's evolved, so people get into the estate and they get into the region and all of that. But in India, as of now, as we talk, because we are in very early stages of bean to bar chocolate making in India, we've just started. It's just been maybe 3-4 years now. Right now, it means that all the cocoa beans and the cocoa butter come from within India or within a country for that matter. So that's what means single origin chocolate. So all the beans and the butter come from India.
Nitin, would you like to actually like talk about the packaging for the chocolate? Because I really find it very like thoughtful, like from the cover to what you've put inside, and even for the aluminium foil and everything. Please take us through that.
Sure. So the final product is what the consumer sees, right? So it obviously encapsulates a lot of stories and a lot of efforts that have gone behind making it. But I'll start from the top of the chocolate, which is the wrapper, and I'll go into the chocolate, right? Because people, whether we like it or not, people judge the book by the cover, right? So the chocolate itself, the wrapper, if you see, the material is actually an upcycled material. And we don't call it paper because what we reclaim cotton from garment factories and we reclaim cocoa shells, that is one of the byproducts of our production process or our roasting process. We get both of these materials together and we convert it to a paper. Now, paper is probably the wrong word. It's a material actually, which is what you're holding right now. And it has no wood pulp. So it is completely wood pulp free and tree free. So it's paper
free.
It's tree free because in the process of cooking the entire chocolate, no tree has been cut. Okay.
So where do you get such ideas from? Like I would like to say in Hindi, people say, "Na, your ideas aate kahan se aise? Ye tree free, paper free, and everything."
No, I think it becomes very obvious when you surround yourself with the right people, right? I think it's very obvious. It becomes obvious what people want, and if those ideas are good and it's coming from the right people, then these concepts become very clear and easy to do. So with this paper, there's also, with this material, it is plastic free, paper free, and tree and wood pulp free, and is because it's just fiber, it is recyclable, biodegradable, and compostable. So it has nothing except fiber in it, right? We've just compressed it, or not even compressed, we've pressed it in a way that it helps us make this box. Okay, and this material is printed on both sides. So there's inside as well as outside that we print because we want to be zero waste. So after opening the chocolate, you can cut open the wrapper, and on the inside you might find some consumer engagement idea. Could be a mandala art, as you mentioned, or a greeting card, or a health tracker. Even you could use this as a bookmark as well.
Yes, my wish list and a good book takes you on a journey.
Right. So if you look at the wish list, this is a wish list which you're supposed to fill and give it to a friend or family member.
Okay.
Right. So this is about engaging people with the wrapper itself, because otherwise the wrapper would have gone into the bin, right? So we don't want to do that. And the printing also, it is screen printed, which means that it's the most energy efficient form of printing, because in the room where it's being printed, it's completely manual, and there's probably just one fan running in the room to dry out the screen. So it's a very energy efficient process, and we use only water colors. We don't use plastic colors for printing. So that means that it's more eco-friendly, of course. And also it is printed at an institute in Chennai that employs differently abled citizens of India. So to us, that I think is a very critical element of sustainability, because if you don't include people in your progress, in your growth, I think you can't go far. You have to include people, and it has to be an inclusive growth. And only then I think we progress further. So that's the outside of the wrapper.
This is amazing, Nitin. And I would actually like tell our listeners or viewers that I would definitely recommend them ordering these chocolates and actually eating these chocolates while actually listening or viewing the podcast. And also because like they should stay tuned because I'm not letting you go before you teach us the art of eating the chocolate because you're India's first certified chocolate taster. But having said that, like it's really amazing, like I've always felt this thing that even with climate action, like the more you include communities, the more people would even understand what you're doing. They'll use the solutions and they'll also feel that they're a part of the solution. And commendable, Nitin. Like I really don't have words for what you're doing. Like it's really amazing. Like even with this thing that you said that with the rapper also you really want to engage people. That's amazing. Like the way you've thought about it, commendable. It's really amazing.
Thanks a lot for this. And though I must say that I haven't even gone to the chocolate yet, because to us, right, all of this is the outside of the thing. But the
Just one
outside,
thing. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry. I want to know that what does this mean? Small batch and stone ground.
so small batch produce means that we don't produce a batch of chocolate in 200 or 300 kilos together. Our typical batch of chocolate is only 5 or 10 kilos. So every time we have to produce the same batch over and over again, and that's what artisans do. Small scale production becomes more difficult, more challenging actually, because you have to replicate all the good steps over and over again. So typically it means that we have a lot of work to do, and it's quite hard work. It's not very simple or straightforward, and we hope that people appreciate us for that. And stone ground means that we don't use metal parts or machines with metal to actually make the chocolate. It's all stone ground using our traditional Indian stone grinders, which for us, ensure that we use traditional or indigenous technology put to good use, because these are all made in South India. We're based in South India, so we're able to do that. And also, it makes sure that the flavors are retained more. The flavors of cacao are more retained in the chocolate. So that's why we stone grind, the cacao.
And now
Yeah.
going to the
But
chocolate.
yes, so between the wrapper and the chocolate, there's an aluminum foil, right?
Yes.
So because of food safety regulations in the country, and which is something which we really respect, we have to ensure that there is a barrier between the chocolate and any kind of packaging that happens. So we didn't want to use plastic, obviously, because most people will be using a plastic wrapper or a aluminum foil with a plastic lamination on it. We didn't want to do anything of that sort, but we also wanted to at the same time retain the product, the chocolate characteristics. Okay, so we said we will use pharmaceutical grade aluminum foil, which is virgin, so there is no plastic or lamination used, which can be reused and recycled. So I'm not sure in the chocolate that you have whether you got a slip which has a QR code in it. So if you did, then there is a QR code which talks to you about. Did you get a slip at all?
No, not in this one.
No. Okay, so again, this is not mechanized, right? So they must have forgotten in a particular place. But
I get to know from the founder itself. So stars align for me.
So normally we insert, like a small slip, again printed on the same paper, using the same water-based. There is a QR code which you can scan, and there are ways written how to reuse that aluminum foil. So we just want to make sure that even the aluminum foil is either reused or it is 100% recyclable because there is no plastic in it. So you could definitely put this up for recycling, very, very easily. And it gets recycled because there is no contamination. There is no lamination or plastic. So that's the barrier and the layer between the chocolate and the cover. Now coming to the chocolate itself, I think that's really where we're able to spread some happiness and joy with, right? Because we live in a country full of diabetes, diabetics around all around us. And what we achieve with this chocolate is an organic product that don't use any refined sugar, and we also reduce the amount of sugar that there is to be put in the chocolate. And any flavoring that we have used is all natural product flavoring. What I mean by that is, let's take an example of red rose. it's an easy thing to put a rose oil just to, flavor the chocolate, but that's something we don't do because that's not sustainable. Using an oil means that the oil production process is so large and it takes so much resources that we are not inclined towards, adding all that processing into our product. So what we do is we grind the chocolate along with rose petals. Now, obviously, it's beautiful to see, it's fantastic to smell and all of that, but what is achieved for us from a very technical point of view is that you get the flavor of red rose integrated into the chocolate. Whereas in the case of an essence or an oil, it will just be on the surface and it will vanish in no time actually. But in our case, it stays out and it comes through very subtly. So we like that subtleness, and for us, less is more. We're using lesser ingredients, so lesser sugar, lesser flavoring. Even if you're using natural flavoring, we're using very less of it, and with an intention that you should consume lesser chocolate, not more. Okay, because
how is that even possible?
Great question, and this ties up with the earlier question that you asked about chocolate tasting, because technically this is a science, and it is a very vast science where we can actually reduce our consumption of anything, including chocolate, by eating it the right way. And a very simplistic example, I can tell you it's mango season, so I'm going to give you an example. People tell you have to chew things 20 times or 25 times before you consume it. Well, nobody does it. It may be that's a different issue, but the reason why they tell you to do that 25 times is when you chew something so much, your palate gets satisfied because you're able to taste it. Now, if you don't chew it too often, what do? You swallow it, and when you swallow it, there is not much of the flavor that gets, detected by your palate, and then you feel like eating more, right? And for anybody who wants to try and see if it makes a difference, try cutting a mango. I mean, take off the skin and cut it into small pieces.
Okay.
Do only pieces, okay? Versus another mango of the same size, cut it into large chunks. So the mango with large chunks, you'll finish it in no time because you're just going to kind of almost pulp into it, and you'll realize that you're not satisfied enough. But when it's smaller pieces, the one mango will give you the same satisfaction of eating 2 mangoes. And I do that every single day today, because if you have too many mangoes, then it's heat produced in the body, and you'll have some boils and all of that. So to decrease consumption, you take it in small pieces. And if I have to take that example to chocolate, it applies even to chocolate. If you have a small piece of chocolate, but in the right manner, right, you can be satisfied with almost 1/10 of what you normally eat or what you normally consume, right? So that's why for us, our goal or our mission is also in a way on the sideline to make sure that people consume less chocolate and not more chocolate. Because if you look at it very practically, the more chocolate people consume, the more plastic people are going to waste. So in any case, it makes sense to consume lesser. But obviously, we don't expect people to consume lesser chocolate or a chocolate that is sugar filled, because then what you're consuming is typically only sugar. So most of our chocolates are less on sugar and they are more on flavor, on the real flavor of cacao, because we roast differently, most of our chocolates. It's also the final actual natural flavor that you'll taste. So you can enjoy it and appreciate it more if you taste it the right way.
Do you feel that when you send people these chocolates, do you often feel that no, you're not eating it in the right way, you should eat it this way? Do you feel that sometimes, or do you feel that you've created these amazing chocolates, and when you see people not doing it in the right way? For example, for me also, I didn't know that this is the right way to eat a chocolate. So do you feel like you should eat it in the right way? Yeah, please say how. Does that happen to you?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. Because also what happens is, if you don't eat our chocolates the right way, you will not get the nuances, the flavors, and you won't enjoy the chocolate enough. And then all this effort that we are putting in, we are, working at the farm with the farmers to improve the cocoa beans. We are roasting the cocoa beans. We are grinding for 48 hours together. Then we are tempering it. We are packaging. All of this effort is just gone in a jiffy. And you've not even tasted all that we wanted you to taste, so it's a waste of that piece of chocolate, in my opinion.
Right.
And apart from it being waste of chocolate, it adds on to your calories, obviously, but also it doesn't give you an opportunity to appreciate this artisan work, you know. And that I think we feel bad sometimes because I know a lot of people will, for instance, we have a banana chocolate where we use pure banana fruit inside the chocolate, you know, and a lot of people just garble into it. I mean, they just swallow it and they say, I didn't taste the banana, you know, and it hurts because sometimes you have to tell them that, listen, if you put the chocolate on your palate and if you had let it melt, you would have tasted the banana. You know, it was there. It was very much there. And so, yeah, we do that. But coincidentally, in your case, the chocolate that you opened, it didn't have that card. But usually, the card is printed on two sides. One of them says, how do you recycle your aluminum foil. On the other side of that small card that you see is a chocolate tasting guide. So there is a guide that says how to taste the chocolate. That is also normally printed, but coincidentally in your case you didn't get that slip. Maybe in the next chocolate that you open, you'll find it inside.
I would again say I have the stars aligned for me once again because I have the real guide sitting just, here telling me how to eat the chocolate. So I'm glad I read, like I'm getting to listen from, the founder itself, and that for me is amazing. So tell me, like, what is the perfect way?
Yeah, I'm very pleased that you have the right chocolate to taste, so it's, I think, mutual.
Yeah, so this is the one that I have is 70% dark chocolate.
Perfect. That's the perfect start because
so tell me.
Yeah. So we call that our alignment chocolate or calibration chocolate is what we call it, because that's the chocolate you should start tasting with, right? And so the best way to do it is a couple of things. One is you should taste it at room temperature. It shouldn't be very cold. That's the first thing. Second is you can take a piece of chocolate and smell it. Okay? When you smell it before you consume it, or you can even smell it from inside the foil. You can smell the entire chocolate. Yeah. And the idea is the smell, yes. So you would either find, either you would smell cacao, a lot of cacao, or you could smell sweetness. A lot of people smell sweetness in it. And all of that means that, the chocolate has been packed properly. And by the time it has reached you, it has all those natural aromas intact. That's the purpose of smelling. But also importantly, if there is any plastic or other kind of smell, you instead of before consuming it, you could smell it and decide not to consume it. Because a lot of times, it happens that there's a contamination or something. It could happen because of the transportation. It could happen because of so many things. Because in India, it travels along with so many things, right? So in any chocolate, it's a good idea to smell it. After which, you take a small piece, and the piece that you had in your hand is almost perfect, and you put it on your palate and don't bite into it. Just put it on your palate and let it melt. Sometimes it's a little difficult to resist biting, but don't even, just put it on your palate, and this uses pure cocoa butter, so it is going to melt. There's no way it's not going to melt. And cocoa butter transports flavor. So when you put it on your palate, your body temperature is your palate temperature, and cocoa butter is the only fat in the world that melts at your body temperature. There is no other fat that melts at body temperature except cocoa butter. So you'll see how the chocolate melts quite easily and resists biting into it. Don't bite into it at all. And you'll see that slowly the flavors kind of move throughout. And if you pay close attention, you'll see that the sugar is kind of balanced. It's not overwhelmingly sweet, and there is a bit of cacao notes that are coming in. Do you feel any other notes? And maybe I should just kind of direct you into thinking about a couple of flavors. Do you feel any kind of raisin or dried fruits maybe?
I feel something like raisin, but I don't think, like, my mind tells me that there is no raisin in it. But I feel something like raisin.
Okay.
Because, I don't know, like, it's like, I can understand the taste. Like, it's like, it just melted away. I don't know.
Right.
And it's amazing, It's not sweet, it's not bitter. I don't know, it's just balanced. Like, what do you even call that taste?
Right. So for us,
there's no aftertaste.
Right. So while you can try it, even after this show a couple of times, try and see if you get a raisin note in it. We've not added any raisins, but it comes from the cocoa beans itself. So the
Okay.
cocoa beans, help us get the flavor out, and you could also maybe get some alcohol notes. Of course, we've not added any alcohol to this, but cocoa beans itself, while fermentation, there is a bit of alcohol notes that are possible that come through. So sometimes we call this a rum and raisin bar. Because there is a little bit of rum notes that come in, and this is all natural. It comes from the cocoa beans. But you won't find this in any other chocolate of ours because we roasted it differently and we've also kind of processed it slightly differently.
Mm.
Also, the hallmark of good chocolate is that the lingering aftertaste should last for a little bit. So, even after the chocolate is gone, are you able to get the chocolate flavor in your palate, or is it just dying
Yes.
away?
No, it's
So,
the flavor is there, but I cannot feel like it's not sweet, it's not bitter, but the flavor is there.
right. So that's usually a hallmark of good chocolate. And if it's an
Mm.
industrially produced chocolate, that normally wouldn't happen. Because industrially produced chocolate makers want you to take another piece. For us, you could take this piece and as you get used to it, it's like sipping on espresso, right? You don't drink the entire cup of espresso in one gulp.
Right.
You sip it slowly and you let that 5 minutes pass through before you take another sip, or maybe a couple of minutes before you take another sip. And that's how our chocolates are designed. And when you start getting into flavored chocolates, like for example, a masala chai is a great example, where you get flavors one after the other.
Okay.
So initially it will be a sweet spice, then you'll get ginger, and then you'll get black pepper on your throat. So we've engineered it in a way that it's a flavor map, a flavor journey, and that's what makes all this very interesting. And this same chocolate, if you bite into it and swallow it, you're not going to be tasting anything. I can assure you that.
Mm.
So that's how you taste chocolate. And before you put another piece of chocolate on your palate, it's good to clean your palate and just because you could have eaten something and there could be some residue of the chocolate. Just clean it before you have another piece. That's how
So
we.
between the
Uh,
chocolates also like you clean the pellet. Like I know that you clean the pellet before tasting the chocolate, but in between also like you have to clean the pellet.
so if you change your chocolate, I definitely advise that because
Okay.
there will be the carryover of flavors that will happen. So I definitely advise it if you're changing the type of chocolate that you're having.
Where do you get this like
And
inspiration of these? Yeah,
no,
you were saying
and I
something.
was saying, yeah, just to add to this experience, you could, pair a fantastic white tea along with this chocolate, and you can take a piece of chocolate and then sip a beautiful white tea cup, and that makes for a phenomenal experience. Similarly, you can pair it with coffee. Similarly, you can pair it with wine. Similarly, you can pair it with whiskey. Crazy things you can do with that.
I'm gonna definitely try this out with like with coffee, and let's see like how it goes.
So
I'll
white
ask
tea is
you like
also.
Nitin, where okay, I'll ask you here that where do you get like inspiration for these amazing, I would say, flavors? Like I saw that you do lavender. You also told like masala chai. The ones that one I have is with cinnamon, ginger. So like, where do you get this inspiration from?
For us, it's very simple. We want our brand to be aspirational. Now, when I say aspirational, it's not just for the consumer, it's also for a new brand coming into the business. We want them to look at this and say, wow, I think these guys are doing fantastic stuff. Now, I want to do it also. And it's absolutely fine if they copy us because, nobody has proprietary ownership on anything today, right?
Hmm.
So it's fine if they get inspired by us and copy us. And even if they don't credit us, it's fine, But our aim is for India to be a player in the next 5 years where a lot of people in the world would look at India and say, wow, I think in India so much is happening as far as being to bar chocolates is concerned. And on those lines, we actually have two collections that we made during this lockdown. One is a collection which is called the Madras collection, which is a collection of 9 different chocolates with flavors of Madras. Okay, so and we have some crazy
Okay.
flavors. We have jasmine, for instance, which is one of our best sellers from that flavor, from that batch. The other thing we also have is a spice collection where we have 9 different chocolates with different spices used in them. Very, very innovative. We want to be an aspirational brand, not just for the consumer, but also for our competitors in a way to look at us and say, listen, this is what I want to emulate, and maybe I want to do better, not just emulate. And that's when, as a country, the B2B scene grows, and that's how more consumers will come to know about it, and that's how everyone will sell more. So I don't look at any chocolate company as a competition, because there is more chocolate required than you could ever produce. So, I will never have a problem selling my chocolates, because the market for it is so large that I'm just producing tiny quantities. And so when I'm not feeling insecure, I'm absolutely okay to be an open book and tell people, listen, please get inspired by it. In fact, I can tell you that in the next 1 year, there'll be about 10 or 11 B2B chocolate makers coming in, and everybody, right, almost everybody, I think maybe 7 or 8 out of 11 would have sustainable packaging. And I think I'll be absolutely honored, even if they don't credit me with it, it's absolutely fine. But I'll be honored, because I can go back and say, listen, we started the trend and people did not have a choice. They had to adopt sustainability, right? Had I gone in for plastic-based packaging, then many people would have said, "Yeah, theek hai yaar, chal hi raha hai na, Nitin is probably doing very well, so maybe I'll also go in for plastic-based packaging." But somewhere I would like to take the credit that we have drawn boundaries for people. We have drawn clear boundaries saying you have to be sustainable, and go ahead and copy us by all means if you wish to. And so some of our students are also getting into the business, and we are absolutely delighted that they're doing exactly what we are doing. Because eventually, I can't save the planet, right? Unless everyone chips in, there's no way one person can save the planet. So that way we're quite happy that we're inspiring people. And so I think the bean to bar chocolate business in the country has to be an example of a category that produces the most number of brands that are sustainable. And I think we have played a role there. I'm pretty sure we played a role.
You are playing a role, Nitin. I would say you're playing a role to inspire millions of people. I would say like me, who when I started, I just knew one thing, that I wanted to do something. I knew that I had to be the part of the solution. And you are doing something, like you're motivating so many people, like you're making them believe that it is possible. And I think that's the beauty of it. The way you are here, you're saying that I'm okay with telling people, I'm okay with sharing my experiences with people. This is what climate action needs, and you're doing it so amazingly. I don't know, like I don't have words, and clearly I can sense that passion, I can sense that energy in you, and that is like commendable. But then what is your purpose in life? Like, have you ever thought about it, that what do you think is your purpose?
So, we've very clearly thought about it, and I think there is an overlap of personal and professional objectives and aims somehow here, and maybe that's why I'm taking some good steps forward. Is, for me, we believe in 4 P's, whether it's a personal life or a professional life, and in that order we prioritize things. So for us, it is the first is people, then it's planet, then it's plants, and then it's profit. Okay. Now, to me, profit is also as important as the planet or people or plants, because if I'm not profitable, then I can't do anything of what I desire, right? If I am not profitable, I wouldn't be in business in a year's time, right? And I don't want that to happen. So clearly for us, all the P's are equally important. It's not one over the other or one before the other. The reason I mentioned it in that order is that when you focus on things in that order, it leads to profitability. So that's the only reason why that is the order. But to us, what motivates us is clearly these 4 things, and I think that's enough of motivation, and that's more than enough, on the plate for us to bother about every single day.
And what replenishes you? Like, do you sometimes feel like, out of energy? Do you sometimes feel like what next? Or do you do you even have those questions that why am I doing? Like some days do you have those kinds of things? So what actually, sort of rejuvenates you or replenishes you?
Yeah, I think I just love this term that you mentioned, replenish, because Replenish is actually a retail business terminology which I've never used in chocolate, to be very honest. But it's a fantastic terminology. I just love the word. It takes me back to my retail consulting days. But yes, so replenishment, I think, somehow in any business that you do where you're trying to save the planet, and I think I can say this however ridiculous it may sound. When you don't use plastic in a day, I think that itself adds some amount of positive energy to it, right? So when we go into our workplace, when it's when you roast cocoa beans, it smells of brownies actually, okay? And when you grind cocoa beans, it smells so much of chocolate. And when you actually make chocolate, there's always going to be some chocolate that you're going to be consuming, and which is going wasted. You say, why do I waste it? Let me consume it. So throughout the day, I think we're surrounded by positive things. And one thing we also do at our place, which may be a personal belief that we've kind of imposed onto our professional life, is we follow Vastu as a principle in our workplace. Okay, so we ensure that we roast things exactly where the Agni should be, and we grind things exactly where it's supposed to be ground. And there are designated places according to Vastu. To us, what that does is, whether it adds positive energy or not, I don't know, but at least it doesn't influence negative energy, right? So if you do things the wrong place, we believe that it, kind of increases negative energy. But we ensure that we follow the Vastu principles very clearly, so that the chances of the positive energies increase in the workplace. And I think it works for us. Apart from having a very interesting product, tasty product, good aroma, all of that, in spite of that, I think the way we structured physically our workplace has really helped us rejuvenate and replenish every single day. And I think when you're doing something planet friendly, people rub on to you, right? Say for example, when I'm talking to you, it obviously consumes some energy, but that conversation is so enriching that I'm replenished at the end of the conversation. I'm not feeling tired. So I think, as I said even earlier, you have to surround yourself with the right people. And unfortunately, even in extended families, you'll have enough people who have all the negativity in them. You just have to pardon them. You have to move away from them and remain in the company of positivity as well as positive people.
And I always say this, that align yourself with the cause. Because some days you'll feel doubtful, you'll feel things are not working out, but when you pause, you breathe, you think about the cause that you're doing, it gives you that kind of energy and motivation. My last question to you would be, Nitin, because what is one thing that you feel that agar you would have known this during the start of your career, or if you consider during your retail days, so you would what is one thing you wish that you would have known during the initial days of your when you started up or your career? Or maybe you can restructure it in a way. What is the one thing that you would really love people who are actually starting up right now to focus on from the early days, or any advice?
Okay, so there are two questions that you asked. One is about me and one is what I advise people. So to me, if there was something I would like to change, I would not change anything. I think what I went through was for a reason. And of course, we've heard of Steve Jobs talking about connecting the dots in his famous lecture at the university. And I think that's so true, and it has happened to me. Little did I know in 2005 that I would study retail, work for Mr. Godrej in India, and import a particular chocolate brand that would lead me to where I am today. Right? I didn't know that at that point of time. I thought it was so coincidental, but it was all happening for a reason. Stars had started probably aligning even then. I just didn't know about it, right? But so answering your question, I think I would not have changed anything, because the journey has been so beautiful, with so much learning. And I'm not linking success to learning here, because I've seen enough failure. And so much so that in one of my first jobs that I did for a consulting company, I actually got kicked out of my job. Okay? And that was not because of non-performance, it was just the way things panned out. And even that, I would say I wouldn't have liked it to change. It's fine that happened, because only because of that, I got pushed to do things better. Okay? And I have no shame in saying I lost my job or kicked out of my job. Of course, there is politics and all of that, that was the reason. But even
Right.
that I think has contributed to my growth. So I don't look at anything negatively. I look at everything very positively. That's generally how that kind of a person I am. And even that, at that point of time, you may think it's something wrong that happened to you, but that happens for a reason. So I wouldn't change anything. Second question of yours was, what would you advise people to do? I think you should do a little bit of research before you dive into anything. But having dived into something, don't look at help. Try to do it yourself and go as deep as you can. Because even if you drown, because it's not really, you're not drowning really. So even if you drown, you're only going to be learning so much that your next dive or your next jump is going to be better. So if you've committed to your cause, stay fully committed. Otherwise, be happy with your 9 to 6 corporate life, because you get your salary at the end of the month and you should be very happy with it. Because if you're not a person who can, if you're weak-hearted and if you can't take chances of diving, then you may as well not dive, may as well build somebody else's dream and work for him. So that's my advice to you.
Like the first part that you answered, I think I genuinely like wanted to hear your perspective. I think there's no better answer than saying that I wouldn't like to change anything in my journey. And the reason I asked you was because I really feel this thing that a lot of times when things happen, like we do question ourselves that why is this thing happening to me and like why me? I think we should really try to understand that what is the situation is trying to teach me right now. Because obviously, like it is happening for a reason. It's going to teach you something. It's going to lead you to the next door. So thank you, Nitin, for sharing that. And also, like the other thing that you said about 9 to 5, the one thing that I honestly believe in is that, a lot of times, like I have my friends, okay, they tell me, oh my God, you're doing some amazing work. You're working in startups. But I always say this thing to them that it doesn't matter if I'm doing a startup or if you're doing a 9 to 5 job. If you're doing what you love, that is the best thing. So like thank you for bringing like giving those thoughts to light, and like thank you for that answer, I would actually say. And Nitin, thank you so much for for taking out the time doing this podcast. I'm really like you have actually like taught me a lot of things in this couple of minutes that we talked about. So thank you so much, and I'm sure that our audience is gonna love the episode. And I would again say that the best way to watch the episode is actually with your chocolates, with you guiding them how to eat the chocolate.
Yeah, my pleasure, Shweta. Thanks a lot for this, and thanks for taking time off. If this can inspire even one person, I think I would have achieved a lot with this.
One is done. You've inspired me. And now there are many people who are going to be inspired by this session. So one goal is achieved.
Fantastic. So good to hear.
Okay. Thank you, Nitin.